Hi, I'm Roland Kushner. I'm one of the co-authors of the National Arts Index study, and I'm a professor of business at Muhlenberg College, which is a liberal arts college in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Before I worked at Muhlenberg, I'd been active in arts administration. I'd been a director of a festival, development director for a choir, interim executive director of an NPR radio station, but I've always been involved in scholarship as well. In 2005, I'd met Randy a couple of years ago after doing some research projects for the Performing Arts Research Coalition and for Opera America, and we had a shared interest in measuring how well the arts were doing, and he said that he had this idea for a national arts index, and was I interested? And I was very interested. I like the idea of measuring, and I think it's important to understand how well the arts are doing in numerical terms, not because the numbers themselves are important, but because they give people a chance to talk in common language rather than just having the anecdotes of this event is doing well or that organization is doing poorly. So Randy invited me to put together some ideas, and we started in 2005 by looking at how other different organizations had put together these policy index reports. So we looked at the Conference Board and United Way, the Gallup organization, we looked at the Annie E. Casey Foundation, and all of these, the University of Michigan Survey Research Center, the Institute for Supply Management, so all of these different places, and they all gave us some ideas about what made a good index. And the next stage was, and we thought at the time, this is 2005, we thought that we might be able to find 25 or 30 different indicators of arts and culture. So that was fine. And then we took it a step further and said, let's do a quick look and see how many can we find. And within about 6 or 8 months, we had found about 40. And then as we started to talk to different people in national service organizations, as we started to research what the different federal government agencies like Bureau of Labor Statistics and Census Bureau, what all they had, the data that they'd collected, we found out that there were many more, and the report ultimately has 76 different indicators of arts and culture. So about 3 times what we had originally anticipated. We had the idea as well that it would be an index that would be relative to a base year, not unlike, for example, what the Consumer Price Index. The Consumer Price Index has a base year of 1982 equals 100. Well, nobody really knows too much about that, but they just know the rate of inflation. And we thought when we started in 2005 that we'd have 2001 or 2002 as our base year, but here it is, it's early 2010. It took us a lot more time to get the index assembled, and so we set up 2003 as the base year because that was the first year where we had all 76 of our indicators involved. An important part of the index is what we call the Arts and Culture Balance Scorecard, that takes all 76 of the indicators and puts them into a systemic model. And we think that finances coming into the arts are a critical part of the fuel, the resources. They might not be as important as artistic technique or creativity or inspiration or beauty, but they at least make it possible for the arts economy, the arts ecology to work in the larger economy. And then another key measure that we thought would capture a lot of the different kinds of indicators we found was capacity. How many workers there were, how many organizations, nonprofits, arts organizations, businesses. So that was another big piece of it. And we were trying to create a model that would summarize everything and still show the particular details. So financial flows and capacity were 2 of those 4 big pictures. The third big picture was how people are actually participating in the arts. As artists, what they're creating, what audience members are doing, how many audience members there are, participation in photography and drawing and attendance at concerts, education in the arts, how many people are taking degrees in the arts, and there's so many thousands, tens of thousands every year, just of those. And then as we started to go, we said, well, we've got all these indicators, and what we want to be able to say as a 4th piece of it is, where do the arts stack up against the rest of society? Not that it's competing, but at the same time, how is it working in its quest for resources. Are people paying attention? Are they committing their time to the arts? Do they want to go and hear music? Do they want to pick up a guitar and play? Do they want to draw instead of doing something else they could with their time? For donors, they could be donating to the arts, but they could also be donating to many other very worthy causes, to human services, to education, to health. And so we wanted to see how the arts compared to all of those other things. And so we created some indicators out of the raw data that we had that showed that competitiveness. And that was the fourth section of our arts and culture balanced scorecard, which is what we called it. And so our 76 indicators are allocated not quite evenly, but pretty closely evenly among those four. So that was a key piece of the story as well.